The Reconsideration of the Necessary Being, a New Perspective on Existence. Introduction. The concept of the necessary being. The concept of a necessary being has long been a central pillar in metaphysical and theological discussions. This being, often equated with God, is traditionally understood as an entity whose existence is self-explanatory, requiring no external cause or reason. Its existence is deemed necessary, meaning it must exist, and its non-existence is considered impossible. This idea has underpinned arguments for the existence of God and the fundamental structure of the universe, suggesting that the cosmos must rely on a necessary being to avoid an infinite regress of causes. The questioning of the necessary state. In philosophical discourse, the idea of a necessary being extends to the concept of a necessary state, an essential state of existence that requires no further explanation. This state is posited to exist without reason, inherently and self-sufficiently. However, this very lack of reason invites a fundamental question. If a state exists without a reason, why must it be this specific state and not another? Why should this state hold the privileged position of being necessary? This question challenges the traditional notion of necessity. If there is no reason for a particular state to exist over another, then the existence of that state is not as secure as the term necessary suggests. Instead, the possibility of alternative states arises, leading to the conclusion that the so-called necessary state is not truly necessary after all. The emergence of complementary states. The questioning of the necessary state naturally leads to the idea of complementary states. If a state has no reason for being, it is equally plausible that another state, its complement, could exist instead. This complementary state is not merely an alternative, but represents the non-existence of the original state. Thus, the existence of one state is intrinsically tied to the non-existence of another, suggesting that every state is balanced by its complement. In this framework, the original state and its complement are inextricably linked, forming a dynamic equilibrium. The existence of one implies the non-existence of the other, and together they form a unified whole that challenges the traditional concept of necessity. The notion of a state existing without reason is undermined by the equally valid existence of its complementary non-state. Quantum superposition, a new paradigm building on this framework. We arrive at a new paradigm where the fundamental nature of reality is not based on a necessary being or state, but on the concept of quantum superposition. In quantum mechanics, superposition refers to the combination of all possible states of a system, where each state is both present and not present simultaneously. However, quantum superposition is not something in the traditional sense. Rather, it represents a principle where states are not merely things, but statements, propositions about reality that are in superposition themselves. These statements exist and do not exist at the same time, reflecting a deeper level of ambiguity in the nature of existence. This idea extends to the very laws of nature. If states are statements, then the laws governing these states are also statements, subject to the same superposition. The laws of quantum mechanics, therefore, do not exist as fixed, determinate rules, but as superpositions of existence and non-existence. They are as much in a state of flux as the phenomena they describe. Implications for the concept of God and something from nothing. This reevaluation of the necessary state and the nature of quantum superposition has profound implications for metaphysics and theology. If the concept of a necessary state is subject to questioning and revision, then the notion of a necessary being, such as God, also loses its foundational role. The idea of a being that exists by necessity without cause or reason becomes untenable when alternative states or beings are equally plausible. Moreover, the concept of something from nothing is rendered unnecessary. The traditional argument that the universe requires a cause or a necessary being to explain its existence loses its force when the very idea of necessity is called into question. Instead of relying on a necessary being or a creation ex nihilo, from nothing, we can understand the universe as a dynamic interplay of states and non-states, where existence and non-existence are intertwined. Conclusion: moving beyond the necessary being. The reconsideration of the necessary state challenges the long-held belief in the necessity of a particular state or being as the foundation of existence. By questioning the very notion of necessity, we open the door to a more nuanced understanding of reality, one that embraces the dynamic interplay of states and non-states, existence and non-existence. In this new framework, quantum superposition is not just a physical phenomenon, but a fundamental principle that applies to the very fabric of reality. States and laws themselves exist in superposition, embodying both existence and non-existence. The traditional arguments for a necessary being or the need for something from nothing are no longer compelling. Instead, we recognize that the universe is a manifestation of a more fundamental principle, the quantum superposition of states and laws, where existence and non-existence coexist in a delicate balance, rendering the concept of a necessary being obsolete. This shift in perspective not only redefines our understanding of existence, but also liberates us from the constraints of traditional metaphysical and theological constructs, allowing for a more profound and dynamic exploration of the nature of reality.